So I just got back from some street shooting and I want to show you guys how I organize my accessories. When I'm out, I typically bring extra batteries, a tripod, some ND filters, a charger, and a couple other things, and I want to show you guys how I organize my accessories to make them easy to grab. Previously, I would store all these accessories in a box on a shelf, and it wasn't easy to grab things. Things got unorganized, and I want to show you my solution. So right now I am living and renting in New York City, and I wanted to go with a storage system that wasn't really permanent but also wouldn't break the bank. And I ended up going with the IKEA Pegboard with a bunch of accessories. Here's a closer look at some of the accessories I utilized on the pegboard, and maybe it'll spark some ideas for you. Let's start with the shelf first. So I have 5 of these on the pegboard. First, I have the battery shelf, XH1, GFX, and GoPro batteries, some vintage lenses that I've used a few times but not a big fan of, and of course the GoPro shelf makes it super easy to just grab the GoPro, put in my bag, and head out the door. And lastly, a shelf that I store all my ND filters on in cases. These are the filters that I don't necessarily bring with me all the time, and extras, just a pile of inventory. Next up, bins, or containers as IKEA calls it. I love these clear ones. These I just store a bunch of miscellaneous small pieces. Makes it easy to find because they're see-through and I can see what I put in them. These are also cool because they keep the dust out. Next, they're open top containers. I have extra straps in here, my air blower. On the bottom ones, I have a super small tripod, a multi-tool, a knife, battery bricks, multiple hard drives, an SD card case. I bought a couple extra of these in case I need to add more to the pegboard as well. Last up, we have hooks, which I would say are probably the most versatile. I'm using their 4-inch hooks to store cables at the top, including Apple and miscellaneous chargers, USB Type A in the middle, and USB-C on the far right. To the right, we have their standard hook loop, probably sticks out about 1 inch, and I am using it to store my SD card adapter, filter thread adapters, a remote trigger, and on the end, I found if you put 2 of them next to each other, it's a perfect way to store lens hoods. It makes it really accessible, and using 2 hooks to store 1 lens hood makes it really stable so it won't fall off. Beneath this are 2 additional 4-inch hooks that I'm using to store my ND filter bag and a pair of headphones in a case hanging at the bottom. 2 more standard hooks to store an accessory bag and to anchor the LED light switch. And back on the other side, I'm using standard hooks to store a lens filter bag and my camera strap, as well as a bike light, which anchors again with 2 hooks. And I'm also using hooks to store a drumstick, which I got from the legendary Travis Barker. I'm using 2 of their circular white hooks to anchor the ribbon from 2 metals on the back of the board. And lastly, 2 of their white clips, which they don't come in black unfortunately, just to hang some miscellaneous Polaroids, and of course some event passes that I thought looked pretty cool to hang. To briefly talk about lighting, I wanted to go with an LED strip to wrap around the pegboard just for some cool added effects. I knew this would be a backdrop in some of my videos. So ultimately I went with the Nanoleaf LED strips, and after setting it up, one thing I was pretty disappointed on is you can only show 1 color at once. I did want to go with a gradient or just a split 2-color design, but unfortunately with the Nanoleaf you cannot do that. But I did end up picking Nanoleaf because you can control it with your iPhone via HomeKit. I thought that would be pretty cool, but also I just kind of end up leaving it on 1 color anyway. I would probably go with a different LED strip moving forward. I believe the brand Grovey, whatever it is, they came out after I bought this, and they have a super custom strip that you can customize with multiple colors at once. Just kind of bad timing on my part. Maybe I'll pick that up another time just to go over that. But just to talk pricing on the LEDs, I went with the starter kit and an expansion, and that ran me about $60, give or take. Back to the pegboard, IKEA always seems really cheap when you're looking at all the individual prices of the items. However, once you add everything together, all the pieces you need, the total does jump up pretty quickly. The total for my setup costs $160.47, which honestly isn't that bad for a pretty elegant storage solution, but it's also not hyper cheap either. Overall, I would definitely recommend a storage system like this for pretty much any photographer. It just makes it really easy to store all your accessories and small pieces and to grab them when you need them. Personally, I would not put anything super heavy on the shelf like camera bodies or lenses, especially anything really expensive, because it is kind of a simpler setup. It's not made to handle really heavy weight. So just one caveat there. So one last thing I would recommend before you do go out and grab this, take all the items that you're gonna put on the pegboard, lay them out on the floor, use a ruler, use measuring tape just to get your dimensions right, figure out how many panels you need, and also figure out what type of accessories you need and how many of them. And you can do this by just organizing all your things. I'll throw up a quick mock-up of what I personally did. I actually ended up placing 2 orders to kind of figure everything out I needed. They do have pieces on Amazon, but they're like 4 times the price. It is cheaper to order through IKEA. So let me know your thoughts on this setup. Do you have a pegboard, or did this spark any ideas for you to create your own version of it? Let me know in the comments. I'd love to talk more about it. If you found this video helpful, please give me a thumbs up and consider subscribing. It would help me out a ton. And with that being said, I'll catch you in the next video.